Group hug players are sadists. Everybody knows that. But what if you're a genuinely nice person? I often play with new players who aren't super enfranchised. Their knowledge of the rules is good enough to ensure the gameplay is smooth and fluid, but there's one big obstacle holding them back: deck building. So often someone is too scared of the mulligan going to 6 because it's not free anymore, and then they just get mana screwed and have an absolute non-game, which devalues the game for every player in that round. And I hate that. I want to make sure that these friends of mine enjoy the few times they play Commander, even if their deck or decision making is suboptimal. After all, I only have so many friends, and Commander does require 3 to 4 players. And that's where this deck comes into play. The idea of this deck is to fight the resource imbalance, to help the players in need, and to give to the poor. But Mr. Content Creator, you might ask, isn't this just group hug? And to this I say no. This is not group hug. This is a helping hand. Group hug commonly refers to decks that play cards like Heart of Spring or Howling Mine that don't discriminate who the resources go to. Everybody just gets something, thus a group hug. Or cards like Fairy Mastermind that ensure you always profit slightly more than someone else, and sometimes even act as stacks pieces. What I propose is different. You're not trying to help everybody with this deck, just the person that is struggling the most. To distinguish the two ideas in deck building clearly, I excluded all cards that say each opponent or each player. So let's first identify the biggest issue causing a player to have a non-game. The first one is mana screw. The second one is mana flood. So the opposite, you're drawing only lands, but there's nothing you can spend your mana on. Most of the cards I put in my helping hand deck serve to either solve the first or the second issue. Thankfully, with the advent of a more commander-oriented design, even for standard, we got quite a few good cards to choose from, and not all of them are a huge liability to you eventually winning the game. Let's first talk about cards helping your friends cast their spells. And to kick this off, I want to talk about well-known and good removal spells in the color white, namely Path to Exile, Settle the Wreckage, and Winds of Abandon. All three of those spells serve the same function. They're a removal spell, but B, can fix someone's land count if they're missing just 1 or 2 lands. If you're looking for a similar effect, but in different colors, Assassin's Trophy again doubles as a solid removal spell that destroys target permanent and opponent controls, but its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. If we're thinking about not necessarily upping their land count, but fixing their colors, cards like Demolition Field and Field of Ruin can help out tremendously. You can kill that absolutely useless reliquary tower that only hinders their ability to cast multicolored spells, destroying it, and they get to search for an actual useful basic land. Discerning Financier, a 3-mana 2/3 human noble, makes it so at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent controls more lands than you, and remember this could be any opponent, maybe even the strongest opponent, you get to create a treasure token. For 3 mana, you choose another player, that player gains control of target treasure you control, and you get to draw a card. So, temporarily helping them out. If we're moving away from lands and traditional ways of producing mana, Divine Gambit can be a one-time boost for someone to mana cheat out a creature that can maybe propel their gameplay forward, that maybe draws them the cards that they need because it exiles target artifact, creature, or enchantment an opponent controls. That player may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. Coveted Jewel is a 6-mana artifact, enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards, taps to add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool, but whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel and also untaps it, so it can be used immediately. This one is a bit dangerous because technically everybody can steal it, especially the player most well off when it comes to board state, but the idea still stands that sometimes you can just give it to someone, they can use it, they draw 3 cards, they have a one-time boost of gaining 3 mana, which should catch them back up into the game. And last but not least, a card that I'm so excited to play at some point, it's Rainbow Vale. Rainbow Vale is a pretty old land from Fallen Empires, and it is truly one of the worst lands you'll ever see. But in this particular deck, the Helping Hand, it serves its function well, because Rainbow Vale does tap for mana of any color, which is great. But if you do, an opponent gains control of this land at the beginning of the next end step. So every time you use it, you have to give it to an opponent. And this is so bad, but it truly embodies this spirit and this kind of diplomatic approach. Here, I give to you my Rainbow Vale. You can use it, you can cast your spell so you can catch up back into the game, and then you just give it back to me, right? And then let's see if your friends are truly friends, or if they keep the Rainbow Vale forever, or give it to someone else. The next problem we're trying to fix is someone having too many lands, but not enough stuff to do with those lands. The classic way to fix being mana flooded is just by drawing a lot of cards. Let's again start off with a removal spell that is pretty good in Commander anyways. Baleful Mastery from Strixhaven is a 4 mana instant that exiles target creature or planeswalker. But instead of paying 4 mana, you could pay 2, with the downside of having an opponent draw a card. Now you can use this to disrupt the most powerful player's game plan while giving a card to the weakest player in the pod, so maybe they can catch up. Other cards that I looked out for and found were cards like Flumph, who we've talked about already. It's a 2 mana 0/4 jellyfish. Whenever it is dealt damage, you and target opponent each draw a card. Very notably, it's not necessarily the opponent that deals damage to Flumph that draws the card, but instead any opponent of your choosing. Lauren of the Third Path is another good card in general. The 3 mana 2/1 Vigilance. When it comes down, you destroy an artifact or enchantment, and it taps to have you and target opponent draw a card. There's multiple of these effects. Teo, Geometric Tactician, is a planeswalker that serves multiple functions, but the +1 again makes you and target opponent draw a card. Secret Rendezvous, 3 mana sorcery from Strixhaven, a sorcery that makes 2 players, you and target opponent, draw 3 cards. Damnable Pact is a sorcery, black and an X. Target player draws X card and loses X life, so you can use it to make someone catch up. You can also kill someone with it. You can use it on yourself. Oblation is a pretty fringe removal spell. It is 3 mana. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into his or her library, and then draws 2 cards. So you can use this either as a good removal spell in a pinch, kind of like a white chaos warp, or you can help someone out. So far we've talked about only card draw as a solution to mana flood, but there is different ways of generating value. For example, a cycle of white cards called the Advocates. Pulse Mage Advocate is a 3 mana 1/3. It taps, you return 3 cards in an opponent's graveyard to his or her hand, and then you return target creature card from your graveyard to play. Let's look at Shield Mage Advocate, 3 mana 1/3. Tap, return 1 card in an opponent's graveyard to his or her hand, prevent all damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn by a source of your choice. And last but definitely not least, Spur Mage Advocate, 1 mana 1/1. Tap, return 2 target cards in an opponent's graveyard to his or her hand, destroy target attacking creature. So you'll always have this diplomatic pressure of, if you attack, I can destroy your creature, but at the same time, you can be helping someone else on the table out. One mechanic that convinced me that this could be an actual deck, and that many of you probably thought of already, is the gift mechanic, which was introduced in Bloomburrow and pretty much makes it so you can cast a spell, or you can cast a spell giving something to an opponent so the spell gets stronger. Classic examples are Dawn's Truce, which is a 2-mana instant. You and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn, but if you choose to uncast give a card, aka make someone draw a card, then Dawn's Truce will also give all permanents you control indestructible. And there's many examples of cards like this. Coiling Rebirth is a 5-mana sorcery. You get to return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Classic reanimate effect. But if you gave someone a card and that creature you're trying to reanimate isn't legendary, you get to also create a 1/1 token copy of the creature you're reanimating. Octomancer, also very notable, is a green and blue 5-drop. It's a 3/3, and you have the choice to give someone an octopus. Now, an octopus is an 8/8 blue creature token. An Octomancer reads, at the beginning of each end step, create a token that's a copy of target creature token that entered the battlefield this turn. So the basic idea is you give someone an 8/8 so they can defend themselves against the strongest player, but you're also getting an 8/8 because remember, being nice should be rewarded. There's a bunch more of these examples, but the last one I want to mention that's a gift card is Perch Protection. It's a 6-mana instant. Create 4 2/2 blue bird creature tokens with flying. But instead of gifting a card or gifting a tapped fish, which you can also sometimes do, you get to gift an entire extra turn. Now, what do you get for giving someone an extra turn? If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out, so they kind of cease to exist until your next turn. Your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. You have to exile Perch Protection. So you're giving someone this extra turn, the weakest player, of course, we're extending a helping hand, but you're out. They can't hurt you even if they wanted to. Let's round our deck idea out with a few more ideas of what you could be doing to help out a weaker player. Well, a very easy and classic way to help someone is giving them creatures so they can block when being attacked. Sometimes someone struggles so much they're open the entire time and become the punching bag for someone. Let's say, totally hypothetical scenario and definitely didn't happen to me, an Abaddon trying to get their cascades going. Well, to give them creatures, you could be playing the very good land Forbidden Orchard, which taps for any color, just like the last land I introduced to you, but the downside is way smaller, because when you tap Forbidden Orchard, target opponent creates a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Benevolent Offering is a 4-mana instant. You choose an opponent. You and that player both create 3 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. Then you choose an opponent. Again, it could be the same opponent, it could be a different opponent, and you gain 2 life for each creature you control, and that player gains 2 life for each creature they control. A card that also inspired this deck list is Loxodon Peacekeeper. It's a 2-mana 4/4, so it has a good stat line, at least for back in the day. And at the beginning of your upkeep, the player with the lowest life total gains control of Loxodon Peacekeeper. If 2 or more players are tied for the lowest life total, you choose one of them, and that player gains control of the Loxodon Peacekeeper. Now I know, and I have to repeat this quite often to newer players, life total is not necessarily a good indication of how the game is going for their respective player, but the idea I feel like is still there. You don't have to include this card, of course, but really it embodies the spirit of protecting the weakest and helping them out. Let's get back to better cards. In Immortal Obligation, 2-mana instant, return target creature card from an opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under their control with a duty counter on it. For as long as that creature has a duty counter on it, it is goaded, can't attack you or a permanent you control, and can't block creatures you control. So for you, this creature kind of doesn't exist. Goaded means it has to attack every turn it can, but it can't attack you or permanents you control, and it can also not block any creatures, but you're helping someone out tremendously. Maybe they can let their commander go to the graveyard and you can reanimate it for them so they continue playing their game instead of being stuck with a commander text that is too high to pay. Another really cool design, and you're gonna see this doubled kinda, is Questing Feldergriff, which is a 4-mana Feldergriff. It's a 4/4 creature that has 3 activated abilities in its colors: a green, a white, and a blue ability, each for 1 mana pip. The first one gives the Feldergriff +1/+1 until end of turn, and target player gets a green 1/1 hippo creature token. The second one, white, gives it protection from black and red until end of turn, and target opponent gains 2 life. And the last one, blue, maybe the most impactful one, gives the Feldergriff flying until end of turn and target opponent and may draw a card. So they could even decline if they didn't want to draw the card. Let's talk about a few more other cards that could round out your helping hand deck. Council's Judgment and Fractured Identity are two cards that aren't necessarily tied to the ideas that we've talked about so far, but they again embody this spirit of helping someone out who's struggling while hindering the person that is maybe doing the best at the table and is potentially running away with the game without anybody being able to stop them. Council's Judgment is a 3-mana sorcery, and starting with you, each player votes for a non-land permanent you don't control, so it can't hurt you, and then you exile each permanent with the most votes or tied for the most votes, so you can gang up with other players, and if you have just one person voting with you, you get to ensure to disrupt the player that is potentially the strongest. And Fractured Identity is a 5-mana sorcery where you get to exile target non-land permanent, and each player other than the controller of that permanent creates a token copy of it, which is hilarious. You can exile anything that is very strong for one player and then everybody gets a copy. It is truly one of the most fun cards to resolve in Commander, I think. As I said, sometimes if you're struggling, you get ignored, and that's good and fine, but sometimes somebody needs a punching bag, and it feels bad, A, to be the punching bag, but also B, to be on the sidelines and see someone get punched in the face over and over again. And blue and white have some solutions for that problem. Misleading Signpost is a 3-mana artifact with flash that taps for a blue mana, so it's a mana rock and does fulfill a good duty for you. But more importantly, for this idea we're having, when Misleading Signpost enters the battlefield during the Declare Attacker step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. So a potentially lethal commander attack could suddenly be directed to someone else, maybe even to yourself, and then you settle the wreckage on the player you're targeting. The same idea is embodied by Portal Mage, 3-mana 2/2 flash. When it enters during the Declare Attacker step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. And Windshaper Planetar, a 5-mana 4/4 angel in white, flash and flying. When it enters during the Declare Attacker step, for each attacking creature, you may reselect which player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. So instead of just one creature, here you get to completely orchestrate the entire combat. As a last part for the 99, I wanted to mention cards that I call meanies, but they turn good. Emrakul the Promised End is a very hated card in my playgroup. It's a 13-mana 13/13, but it gets cheaper for each permanent type among cards in your graveyard, and when you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, the player takes an extra turn. Emrakul herself has flying, trample, and protection from instants. Usually, what you do is you take over someone's turn and you find the worst possible things to do. That usually includes playing removal spells on your own creatures. It usually includes attacking into the Emrakul, and sometimes discarding your hand, activating abilities, sacrificing fetch lands but failing to find actual lands. But what if we played the best possible turn for that player and then they got an extra turn? Suddenly, this becomes one more extra turn spell that you can use for good, while also having a 13/13 flying trample protection from instants. And the last card I want to mention for the 99, similarly to Emrakul, usually used for bad, but sometimes, just sometimes, you can make someone's day with it. Jester's Mask. Jester's Mask enters tapped. For 1 generic, tapping and sacrificing Jester's Mask, target opponent puts the cards from their hand on top of their library. Then, you search that player's library for that many cards, that player puts those cards into their hand, then shuffles. So you get to completely reshape and replace someone's hand. Usually, you would give them 5 lands or 5 cards they cannot cast because they're too expensive. But in this deck, you get the opportunity to give someone the perfect hand. The hand that will make them want to play another round of Commander, and that is the ultimate goal of this deck. So let's finally talk about the commanders. The commanders really don't matter that much From my research, I would recommend you play the color white. Black has some good cards, blue has some good cards, but white really is the central color if you want to help someone out. Commanders you could play are well-known cards like Glunch the Bestower. It's a 3-mana jellyfish, flying 05. At the beginning of your end step, you choose a player. They get 2+1/+1 counters on a creature they control. Then you choose a second player to draw a card. And then you choose a third player who creates 2 treasure tokens. One of those players could be you. And most importantly, unlike the commanders that say each player does this, each player does that, you get to choose someone who's left out. Miss Bumbleflower, also very well known, a good group hug commander, and not every group hug commander is automatically disqualified for being a helping hand commander. It's a 4-mana 1/5 rabbit citizen. It has vigilance. When you cast a spell, target opponent draws a card. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Could be yours, could be someone else's. It gains flying until end of turn. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, being good is worth it, and you draw 2 cards. The Council of 4, also pretty well known. Blue-white, commander, 5 mana, human noble. Whenever a player draws their second card during their turn, you draw a card. And whenever a player casts their second spell during their turn, you create a 2/2 white knight creature token. This doesn't necessarily embody the idea of helping someone, but we want to make sure that helping someone is worth it, that we're not just a useless piece in this game and it's a 3-player game, but it's an even 3-player game. You want to participate in this game, so you want to profit off of helping someone. Pros: Defense Contractor has a bit of a different approach. It's a banned commander, 4 mana, 1 generic, 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue. Cat Advisor, a 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a shield counter on target creature an opponent controls. Shield counter is kind of a one-time indestructibility. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it. It gains trample until your next turn. But the commander that I chose for my personal helping hand deck list, the card in my binder that I've been eyeing for a long time now, the card that embodies the true spirit of Magic the Gathering, because it is an anagram for Garfield PhD. It's Feldergriff, the flying hippo, and its text box should be oddly familiar to you guys because it does have 3 activated abilities. It can gain trample for 1 green, but target opponent gets a 1/1 green hippo. It can gain flying until end of turn, but target opponent gains 2 life. And for blue, return Feldergriff to its owner's hand, target opponent may draw a card. Put all of this together and you should have an absolutely functioning deck where a lot of these cards serve a double duty of being either a good removal spell, a good card draw spell, a way to profit off of being nice, but also helping the worst player, whether it's due to bad luck, due to bad deck building, or due to bad play. It doesn't matter. It should always be about everybody having fun and minimizing the non-games you have in your pod. As with my commander videos, I mostly wanted to showcase this deck idea. I didn't want to give you guys a ready deck list because truly this is about what you do with this idea. I only wanted to put it out into the ether because I like the idea of helping someone have a better, more fun game. Anyways, always remember, be kind to yourself and extend a helping hand to others. Goodbye.